welcome back to another episode with the Crime and Coffee Couple. My name's Allison.
And my name's Mike.
Hello, Mike.
Hello. Hey, how is it going? It's been a little while since we've been back in these seats. I know it hasn't seemed like it, but we've been on vacation, and Allison's always ahead of the game, always making sure the episodes are coming out on time every single Sunday morning for everybody out there. But yeah, we're back from an Alaskan vacation.
Yes, it was wonderful.
We were very, very lucky to do so. But if this is your first time, welcome. We are a true crime couple podcast. We're just a couple of kids. Well, we're not kids anymore.
Oh, we're far from kids.
Yeah. We met a long time ago in our high school sweethearts, and so far so good. I like you.
Yeah, I like you. You're
seem to
pretty
like
good.
Me. Yeah. So thank goodness, knock on wood, that's all going well. And every single Sunday around 9 a.m. Eastern, we release a free episode, and then bonus episodes on Wednesdays if you want to pay for them. There's like 150 or so, a lot of them.
I'd say there's probably more than that.
Yeah,
that's
there's
just
more,
me guessing.
150 plus, maybe 200. Who knows? Who knows? But we are just an independent little podcast. I am Pa.
And I am Ma.
Yeah, we're just a Ma and Pa podcast, like your local little drugstore at the corner, except we don't have drugs. We just have true crimes.
We have coffee, so if it's a local coffee shop.
Oh, this coffee I made 14 ounces a day, so I'm raring to go.
Wow, you're not fooling around here. So I was talking to Mike this morning because we had flown in from Anchorage, Alaska, and we had some layovers, all the red eye, that whole fun thing. And we're just like crammed into these little seats, and it was just the worst spot on the plane. We had these horrible children that were behind us.
I think they were the worst kids that have ever been made, like the worst, and bad parents, just bad all around.
It's like rewarding horrible behavior. Like these kids were not super young, and they're screaming, I want a cookie, I want internet. I'd be like, I'll take your fucking internet and shove it. Sorry.
Wow, she doesn't drop these F-bombs on this air. She does it at home all the time.
When I'm frustrated. But the kid literally kicked our seats for about 6 hours. And the dad was sitting next to him, like under no circumstances would I let my kids kick the seat in front of them, because I know that's very disruptive and annoying.
Yeah.
And then the guys in front of us, I don't know what they were doing. They just kept like slamming their seats back violently.
Oh my God. And even the guy in front of me too. Like when he got up to get to the bathroom, it was like, gush, gush, and I'm if you're watching YouTube, I'm like touching Allison. Like it was a jarring
It's
move.
like, what is going on?
Like none of these people have anybody in mind but themselves. Like thank God my head wasn't there. Otherwise I probably would have died. And I thought he was probably 400 pounds based on the amount of force he was using.
Yeah,
but
he was not a very big guy.
He got up and I was like, Betty, you shouldn't have been like, there's no reason for you to do that much.
Those seats must have been pretty flexible because, our son almost got slammed in the head too. But so we get off the plane, we got maybe 2 hours of broken sleep, had to catch another flight, and now my back is just completely out of whack. So I'm feeling like my back is a second away from just being blown out. And then we're walking through the parking lot and Mike goes, oh man, my back.
We went to a coffee shop real quick and I got up. It just started like, it wasn't an ache. It's like that, like exactly like what you said. It could go at any moment.
Like if you make the wrong move, you sneeze funny, that back is going out.
And now unrelated, but kids, correct me if I'm wrong, but saying that your back is getting blown out is a euphemism for,
oh, I don't know about that. I just literally meant, okay,
so just
don't
so
punch your palm.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Put down in the comments if that's true or not. I believe so, but we'll see.
So this morning I get up, I'm like, oh man, my back is screwed up. So I pop a couple Advil. I could tell it's in my hips, but also my spine is tight, brushing my teeth. I'm like, I got to go out and get my yoga mat and stretch. Okay, so I'm over 45. I'm at the point in my life where I don't just stretch before a workout. Now I just have to stretch to live.
Before life.
That's where we are.
part of the deal. It's like, all right, well, I plan on getting out of the house today, so I'm going to break out those hips and everything.
We're going to be in those silver sneakers classes doing our chair exercises.
In my 20s, I had no idea what people talked about when they were like, yeah, my hips are hurting. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't even know where my hips are. Like, I know where they are because of like
anatomically,
pictures.
but
yeah, but like, I don't even know. And now it's like, yeah, my right hip's got a little thing here. And now all of our friends get together. It's like, yeah, well, I'm getting surgery on this and that. And it's like, ah, geez, it's tough, man. I can see why human lives only lasted X amount of years. Way
like
back
100 and some odd years ago, people lived to about 35.
Yeah, it seems about right. Like 35 is probably the good part. Just get it done with.
Well, that's why there's so many doctors that don't know a hoot about menopause, because women used to really die before they hit menopause.
Yeah, it wasn't in the grand plan for you women to live this long.
No, it wasn't. So that's why it's important to, when you're someone like me going through, as Mike would say, perimenopause, which I want to punch him in the teeth when he says that. I found a specialist who is actually a certified menopause specialist.
Yeah, a specialist. I'm a specialist. It shows you how to spend money is what I do.
Yeah,
if I'm a specialist.
Makes me not a raving lunatic, more like it.
It's got some work to do.
How dare you? Don't look at me.
She's got some work to do. Let's just say that.
She's got to tweak those meds.
Yeah, we need a little bit. I saw an Instagram reel where they said women over 40 like kind of vibe checking each other as they're like walking in to like their yoga class or something. They pull down their pants just a little bit.
Show the patch.
Show the patch. Yeah. It's like you're taking your
Oh, I got my patch on my left hip right now. My estrogen patch.
Yeah, hormone replacement therapy. And it's becoming like more and more. So like you talking about it is good.
Well, because you don't have to suffer through it is kind of the point.
So that's what, estrogen?
I take oral progesterone and I have an estrogen patch.
Okay. Yeah. So it's I don't know. She read some book on it.
Yeah.
Whatever. And speaking of reading books, on our cruise, I was lucky. I read a whole book on my own without any help and everything.
You even had to get the sequel to it.
I got the sequel and I've been reading. It's so stupid. It's called Carl the Dungeon Crawler. I was like, so I talked to AI about suggesting books. I'm like, I've liked the Da Vinci Code, and I just read Project Hail Mary because AI suggested it to me, and it was amazing. The book was just wonderful. And so there was like, here's a weird one for you, Carl the Dungeon Crawler. And I'm like, that sounds dumb, but it was amazing. I loved it myself. It's something stupid.
If you like it, you like it. And then I got on a random book club on the cruise. So we were just happening to sit in this lounge. It was like noon, and they were doing a game show. But before the game show, they're like, hey, if you want to grab a book and sign up for the book club, come on up.
And I hear like if Allison had like a tail to wag, she'd be wagging it and her ears would be straight up.
My ears went straight up. My tail was wagging, and I just got in line blindly. I had no idea what the book was, that they were even doing a book club. And I got the book. It was Hamnet, which is, I guess it's interchangeable with Hamlet back in the 1500s. They were the exact same name. So it was a fantastic book. I loved it. I also watched the movie because it's also made into a major motion picture. Loved the book so much more. Not to say that the movie wasn't good, but when you're reading a book, you're getting into the people's thoughts. And that is where the emotion is, because you know what they're thinking. And it just touched my heart so much. And it's about a child being sick. And oh my gosh, I was just sobbing on the ship.
She was a lot. She sobs a lot.
Yeah. So on that note, though, we've been kind of going on and on. But we are glad to be back here. And I just want to say that we are just so grateful to all of you guys being here and listening, because, we're taking this beautiful vacation. And I'm like, man, we're just so lucky to have such awesome listeners.
Well, because Allison used to have to go into the hospital as a dietitian every single week, and now she doesn't have to. Do we make that official?
Not yet. We'll talk more about that soon. Okay. But I'm very grateful, and I just thank you guys so much.
Absolutely.
But of course, we have another sad case to deliver today.
Yep, we have a little coffee talk in the beginning just to kind of break things up a little bit.
Ease our way into it. And this is the sad story of the triple homicide of Chynna Deese, Lucas Fowler, and Leonard Dyck. So 24-year-old Chynna Deese and 23-year-old Lucas Fowler, they were young and they were deliriously in love. Think back to your 20s, that young, innocent love. Everything's starting.
I used to love you
we used to just laugh and enjoy each other.
Kiss all over the face and neck. And now it's just like, hey, can you make sure to take the garbage out? And you're like, yeah, as soon as you do this.
Don't forget to scoop the litter.
Yep.
So since 3,000 miles separated them.
Wow, 3,000 miles.
Yeah, it's a lot. So Lucas was living and working at a cattle ranch in British Columbia, Canada. And meanwhile, Chynna was back in her home state of North Carolina. So, of course, they're missing each other terribly. So they blocked out about 3 weeks to be together. And 2 of those weeks were going to be spent driving along the remote yet gorgeous Alaska highway in a blue Chevy van in July of 2019. So it was along this very stretch of road in northern British Columbia where the couple was tragically found shot to death. And what initially appeared to just be an absolutely random, senseless double murder soon became something far bigger when a third victim was found, only days later. So this led to one of the largest manhunts that Canada has seen in many years. It spanned thousands of miles because, of course, Canada is very vast, and it went over multiple provinces. So although they grew up more than 9,500 miles from one another, from young ages, both Chynna Deese and Lucas Fowler had a passion for travel. There was something invigorating about seeing new places, immersing themselves in different cultures, and experiencing the world. They wanted to experience the world through the eyes of the locals.
And that's kind of interesting timing because, like, we're just getting that bug now. Like, we want to see more and more. We just got our passports. Like, we're wondering what else is out there.
Yeah, at 46 years old, I got my passport for the first time. We spent our younger years in school and then marriage and then kids. And now we finally have a little bit of wiggle room to get out and see the world. And incidentally, we were kind of up in the neck of this where this happened recently because we started in Vancouver. Thank you. So we were actually in British Columbia recently, and it's just so beautiful up there. So Lucas was this handsome, rugged man. He had long, curly blonde hair, a beard, and green eyes, and he stood at 6'3". He towered more than a head over Chynna, and she had straight blonde hair and blue eyes. And their connection was immediate, and they bonded over their zest for life and their passion for adventure. So Chynna, who was the youngest of 4 children to parents Dwayne and Sheila Deese, she had always been this flexible, resilient child. So according to Sheila, her daughter didn't walk until she was 13 months old because her older siblings carried her around like their very own baby doll.
That's adorable.
So after her parents divorced when she was 12, Chynna and her mom moved into a condo together because her siblings were older. They had kind of moved out by that point in time. So she first caught the travel bug in 2016 when she headed to France to study abroad as a junior psychology major. She was studying at Appalachian State University. And then from there, she spent about half of the rest of her short life traveling outside of the U.S. And since she graduated from high school in 2013, she had visited 13 countries. She mainly funded her travels. She was working at hostels for nonprofits, just random things like that. So after she and Lucas crossed paths in Croatia, they were staying at the same hostel, and it was just an instant connection when they met each other. So they soon realized that, they were clicking and they had a great chemistry together, and they were just both good, solid, happy people. And they said, hey, why travel alone when we can travel together?
Yeah. And, being 20 years old, you have that option of staying in hostels. And I mean, we have that option, but my wife won't allow that because we need a room without extra strangers in the room. Imagine that.
I'm 47 years old. I'm not staying in hostels with 19-year-olds.
I don't blame you whatsoever. No. So that's why, like, in your 20s, go do it. And, like, it's cool. You can meet somebody who's into traveling like you are. And if they're cool, great. And if not, you could just, like, pretend, hey, I got a tour at this time or whatever, just leave them.
Oh, gotta get home.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things before you are bogged down by all the responsibilities of children and a home and a mortgage and, all that, the bills and stuff. Like, go out and see the world. Take that trip.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things I'm very, very passionate about.
I was lucky enough to go to Europe for a week in spring break, and we stayed in hostels, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. So just definitely get out there.
But it was clear to anyone who met the couple that they were just really destined to be together. So as with Chynna, Lucas had also been the 4th child. He was born to parents Stephen and Shauna Fowler, and he grew up loving the outdoors in his hometown of Hornsby, Australia, in New South Wales, along the east coast of the country, just about 30 minutes drive from Sydney. So he was a lover of animals. He was drawn to adventure of any kind. He just loved getting out, riding his dirt bike, camping, traveling, anything rugged like that. And after he graduated from Ku-ring-gai High School, he finished an apprenticeship as a motor mechanic, and then he dedicated the next 2 years to backpacking across the world, which was when he met Chynna in Croatia at a hostel in 2017. So a few months after meeting, the couple drove off in Chynna's father's 1996 Land Cruiser. They basically crossed the United States. They explored the Rockies, through Yellowstone. They loved the national parks. They just loved the natural beauty of the world. And then they drove over to San Diego. They dropped their car off with a friend. And then from there, they crossed the border. They explored through Mexico as well as Central America. So moving forward to the winter of 2018, Lucas came back to Charlotte with Chynna to stay with her for 2 months. They basically were celebrating the holidays together, Thanksgiving and Christmas. They were spending time with Chynna's family, and they were just immediately charmed by this guy. And if you see a photo of Lucas, he just looks like such a genuine spirit. And they really just felt like he was just part of the family. It was just one of those things where it wasn't any kind of awkwardness. He just slid right in with the family.
That's awesome when you see a couple, you're like, yeah, he's gonna work out.
Oh, love that. So shortly after ringing in the new year of 2019, when Lucas's 90-day visa had expired in February of 2019, he headed north because he had gotten a work visa in Canada. So he was hired by Christoph and Erica Waiter to work as a general ranch hand at a very remote area. It's at Venator Ranches in Hudson's Hope, British Columbia. This is in the northeastern portion of the province, basically not far from the border of Alberta. So although Lucas's parents were clearly missing their son, they're back home in Australia, they were thrilled, though, that he was out living his life. He was experiencing life and seeing the world. Stephen Fowler, his dad, was a senior detective with the New South Wales Police, and he fondly recalls this iconic photo that his son had texted them. And if you look up Lucas's photo, this one pops up with them. And Lucas has a knit cap on, but the hair that you can see on his head and on his beard is just completely ice laden. And they were joking, well, if you need to get a haircut, you could just snap it off.
Right.
And he was, he had been working for hours outside in the freezing conditions. And Stephen just knew that his son was experiencing what few Australians were able to do. So Stephen and Shauna were thankful that their son had found Chynna, and they looked forward to having her in their family. They knew that Chynna wanted their future children to have their Aussie accents, but in the meantime, they were young and they were just milking every last drop out of life. So since Lucas was a skilled mechanic, he's up on this ranch in northern British Columbia, he was basically repairing a lot of the vehicles out on the ranch, and he repaired a 1985 blue Econoline van, and then he purchased it from his employers because he knew that he and Chynna wanted to take this road trip. So when he wasn't busy working, he spent as much of his free time as possible talking to Chynna on FaceTime as they started to put the pieces of the puzzle down in terms of what their road trip was going to entail.
And those vans are pretty nice and spacious, so they can, it's like van life,
right?
It's a lot of people are doing that now.
Yeah, exactly. So they would probably just camp in their van, and then that saves a heck of a lot of money because you don't have to get a hotel room.
Yep.
So with 3,000 miles separating them, they understandably missed each other. So Chynna was planning to join Lucas at the ranch in July, and then they would set off on their 2-week road trip together. So altogether, they were going to spend 3 weeks. So they planned to explore the country together, camping along northern Canada and visiting as many of the country's iconic national parks as they could possibly manage. They may have made their way into Alaska too, had they been given the opportunity. So Chynna had been working overtime throughout the spring and into early summer of 2019. She was accepting double shifts, working as many hours as she possibly could as a bartender at Superica. And this is a popular Tex-Mex chain. And she was just fueled by this thought that, okay, I want to save whatever money I can so that I can go and be with Lucas.
And again, guys in your 20s, you should be working your butts off. Like, just go get that money however you got to get it, and take those extra shifts, and like, just you're at an age where that's the time to do it, so you can enjoy life. So
right,
just
squirrel that money away.
Yep.
So when Chynna Deese arrived at her daughter's house on July 6, 2019, Chynna was trying to figure out how she was going to transport these new size 12 bulky hiking boots that she'd kind of surprised Lucas and bought him for the trip. So she was telling her mom, I don't know, I might have to just wear these on the plane. And her mom was cracking up, just imagining her little petite daughter wearing these huge, clunky hiking boots on her feet. Yeah. So after they pulled up to departures, Sheila went around to the passenger side of the car so that she could give her daughter a huge hug before she boarded her plane. And as Chynna walked through the double doors, carrying a massive suitcase that held a moose blanket that was rolled up, it was tied to the straps, Sheila had no way of knowing that it would be 1 week to the day that she would last hear from her daughter.
And what sucks about stories like these, it's like it's going to make you a little bit more apprehensive about your kids, going out and enjoying life.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's that balancing act where it's like, you can't prevent your kids from living because you're scared. You have to take the necessary precautions. It's like Finding Nemo. When Dory says, well, if nothing ever happens, then nothing will ever happen.
Yep.
And I mean, that's so true. So at each of her layovers, Chynna texted her mom to check in first from Chicago and then from Vancouver. So when she texted her the next day at about 6:30 p.m., she wrote, I made it to the ranch. Just now got on Wi-Fi. And she told her mom that Lucas said hi, and of course, Sheila sent her love back to Lucas. So over the next week, Chynna was just spending time at the ranch, and she was experiencing things that she had never done before. She tried her hand at a lasso, ranch life.
Yeah, do the stuff you have never done.
Exactly. So it was clear to Lucas's employers, Christoph and Erica, that the young couple was just so full of love and happiness and just really just joy at being together. They didn't need things. They just wanted to be together. And they would catch them in a quick embrace. They would see them just giving each other this quick look that just showed how much they were in love. They were just freaking adorable. So Chynna shared photos of her time on the ranch to Instagram. One was a photo of her at a ranch party. And then on Saturday, July 13th, 2019, she shared a photo of herself and Lucas. They were in the van, they were getting ready to hit the road, and they were just so excited. Lucas was sitting behind the wheel of the blue van while Chynna was in the passenger side, and they were just each beaming from ear to ear. So from the ranch in Hudson's Hope, they basically drove 5 hours north to where they stopped to refuel at a gas station in Fort Nelson. And according to CCTV from the station, while Lucas was out pumping gas, Chynna was using the gas station squeegee, and she was just cleaning off each window. And then they shared this adorable, tender moment that I got to see on video and in still images. She's standing on a cement block at the gas station, and Lucas is much taller than her, which Mike and I always have to do the same thing. If I want to get anywhere close to the same height as Mike, I have to stand on some kind of a cement block or whatever.
Or I got to go to my knees, basically.
Yeah, so she's leaning forward and she's just giving him this big embrace, and it was just so cute. So they went inside, they used the restrooms, they grabbed some snacks, and after spending 17 minutes at the station, they were heading west along the Alaska Highway. So these are basically the last images of this couple. So the Alaska Highway is a nearly 1,400-mile stretch of road. It starts in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, and ends in Delta Junction, Alaska. So Chynna texted her mom and she told her, don't worry, but I'm going to just be in touch whenever I can. You're talking about very vast, rugged land. There's not cell towers. There's nothing here. You can go for hours and hours of driving and not see anything. So she said she probably wouldn't have Wi-Fi for a few days, but when she could, she would check in. And Chynna's family, they really hadn't been worried about them because they were both so well traveled. This was nothing new. This is what they had been doing for years, and they had meticulously planned their road trip. So they previously traveled throughout Europe and Asia together, and they'd always been very sensible and cautious. And since she wasn't scheduled to come back to the States until July 31st, she and Lucas had the next 18 days to just make new memories along the road together.
Go see what they can find.
And really, that's the best time to connect and make new memories is when you're in a place where you don't have cell service.
Yeah.
Because you're not distracted by constantly picking up the phone. Like every thought that pops in your head, oh, let's check Google, let's fact check that.
Yeah, and it's like not even the social media aspect, but exactly what you said. Just
right.
like it's there for you. It's like a tether to everything, right? You have everything in your hand that any possible answer, like what should I do here? How do people do this? Like anything. So it's just nice to just kind of get back to how it was in the 80s.
It really is. And sometimes I feel sorry for our teens because we grew up in the 90s, and I am so thankful that we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have social media.
And it's not coming from that place where it's like, oh, this is the worst. And you kids today, it's just like, you guys are in a tough position. It's really hard.
Well, it's like they say, you have like, you see what you're missing out on, or your feelings are hurt from afar because you're looking at a picture on Instagram and you're realizing, oh, I didn't get accepted or I didn't get invited to that party.
Yeah. And so why not? And then you start spiraling. And then like you see people's pictures, and these are the pictures that they chose, your
best moments.
Yeah. Our kids are always like, oh, you're aura farming or something to me. If I'm like standing a certain way, I'm like, no, I'm just looking at mountains. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So,
it's like, I don't even know what aura farming is.
Yeah. It's like a lot of these, kids are posting pictures because they think that that's how they should be seen. But I'm like, I always think I want to put myself back then or now, like take myself as a teenager, I like to think that I would post stupid pictures, but I don't know because it's a risk.
Exactly. You just don't know because you don't want to be judged poorly. Yeah. I always think of the saying, a friend to all is a friend to none. Like you can't be the person for everyone because then you're not going to be true to yourself when you're people pleasing.
You didn't have a lot of friends. That's your problem.
I don't think so, Mike.
Okay.
I think it was the opposite. Didn't you tell me
Allison,
in 8th grade you had no friends?
We're not talking about those kinds of friends where you spend the night in their beds and their other opposite sex. You had a lot of those types of friends. But
what are you?
She was
Mike was my first boyfriend.
As our friends from Till Death Do Us Part say, she was the town mattress is basically what we're trying to say.
I had never had a boyfriend before Mike. So the following day was Sunday, July 14th. So they'd only been, driving around for maybe 24 hours at this point. And a man named Curtis Broughton and his wife, Sandra, they were on their way back home from a camping trip from the Yukon Territory when they saw the couple sitting beside their van on the side of the Alaska Highway. It was right around 3:20 p.m. on Sunday. So they were about 20 kilometers or 12 miles south of Liard Hot Springs in northern British Columbia. This was about 285 kilometers or 178 miles west from where they were last seen at that gas station in Fort Nelson the evening before. So since Curtis was a mechanic, and of course they're out in the middle of nowhere, so this couple thinks, man, if they need help, it could be days, it could be hours, whatever. He was a nice guy. He pulled over. He offered help. Is there anything I could do? Because I could check out the car. And Lucas explained that the engine had flooded because, of course, Lucas was also a mechanic.
Yeah, he knows this.
He knows. So he told Curtis, we're just sitting waiting for the excess fluid to evaporate. And Curtis and Sandra could see that the couple was smiling. They were seemingly unbothered by the situation. They were sitting there making the most of their time. They were sharing a picnic lunch together.
That's so freaking cute.
It is.
And like these two are the type where it's like, you're going to go on long trips and things are going to happen.
Things will happen.
So it's like, you could be like, I'm going to freak out, whatever. As long as you can survive, like that's number one. Can you survive? Do you have water? Mm-hmm. And is it too cold to live? But it's not, in July, you're probably fine. 50, 60 degree weather, whatever it is.
We're not in sub-zero temps or anything like that.
Yeah. So you're just like, okay, it might take a few hours, might take a few days. You don't know, but it's like, we're going to make the best of it.
Right. So as they headed off on their drive, and when I say they, this is Curtis and his wife, they wished the couple good luck. And when passerby Charles Ray drove by the broken down van that same evening, he also stopped to help. So it sounds like there's a lot of nice people.
Well, because they're up in the wilderness.
And they know people need help.
Yep.
So although Lucas and Chynna told him, that they plan to call a tow truck, the area was known to have a lack of cell service. But Charles was camping only 3 kilometers or less than 2 miles away. So he thought to himself, I'll check on them in the morning. So when road worker Alandra Hull drove past the blue van, she saw the couple talking with this bearded man who looked frustrated. While Chynna and Lucas were standing near their van, the man is standing in the middle of the road and he's facing them, and his palms are outstretched. And of course, she's just driving by, but the image just gave the appearance that he looked agitated.
An argument of some sort.
Right. But she had a bad feeling about it. She's driving alone. She's in an area where there's no cell service, so she just kept going.
Do not stop as a woman.
So while some reports indicate that Chynna and Lucas were last seen alive somewhere around 4 p.m. on Sunday evening, other reports say it was as late as 7:15 p.m. So now moving forward to the following morning, it's Monday, July 15th at 7 a.m., and a highway maintenance worker named Trevor Pierre was driving past the area, and he noticed the blue van there, but it looked suspicious. The back doors were open, and the back window on the right side was shattered. It gave off an immediate bad vibe, so he stops his car to further investigate, and he is stunned to find the bodies of Lucas and Chynna lying face down in identical positions in a ditch. This precious couple that just wanted to be in love and be together and see the world and love life and have a picnic on the side of their van were shot to death.
And you know what? It's weird. I feel so angry. Usually I feel very sad, and I'm very sad, but this makes me feel angry. It's like they weren't going to hurt anybody. They did
nothing.
Like, not that anybody is, but in this situation, it's like, what the hell? What the hell's wrong with you to do that to this couple?
Nothing was taken from them. This was just senseless. Nothing was stolen. There was nothing but death in this case. So Lucas, who wore no shoes, was lying about 16 feet behind Chynna, who wore only one shoe. It was immediately clear that they had both been shot multiple times. While Trevor's standing there, he can see this. According to trucker Ed Grennan, who was one of the first to come upon the scene, it was obvious that the young couple had been dead for hours, as their body was cold to the touch. And since Ed lost his own daughter at 17 years old, the couple's death just really hit him hard. And just weeks after their murders, he created a makeshift memorial at this site to honor Chynna and Lucas.
And he didn't even know them.
He did not know them at all. But it's like he's gotten to know them, through things online and even talking to their families. So the memorial has since grown and it is carried out by a number of truck drivers. Again, truck drivers who don't know this couple, but I don't know this couple. And this case hurts my heart just like every other one does, because these were people that lived and they were people that were loved and they mattered.
Like imagine whether your best friends are out there traveling or like your sons and daughters, you're a little scared all the time. Even when our kids go out and go somewhere else, it's like, I just want to know where they are and stuff. But
our son is in Texas right now. He's over 1,000 miles away from us, over a 16-hour drive from us. That's scary for us.
Yeah. And he's going to these stores and these neighborhoods we don't even know about because he's just bored. And he's like, oh, it's fun, exploring. I'm like, it is, man. It is. And just be careful. Please.
Please be careful.
And to find out, and then this community's coming together and the truck drivers, they kind of feel a community together.
Yes. So they've erected this memorial. There's wooden structure there. There's photos, a cross, flowers, as well as an American flag and an Australian flag. According to their autopsies, which were done 4 days later on July 19th, the couple had been shot a total of 7 times. There were entry wounds at both the front and the backs of their bodies. Numerous bullets were lodged in the bloody dirt beneath their bodies that told investigators that they just had been lying there helplessly, face down in the dirt, as someone stood above them, someone that they didn't know, someone that they did nothing to, that ended their lives for no reason whatsoever.
Prior to meeting this guy, they had met other very nice people that were willing to help.
Wanting to help.
They probably thought this guy wanted help too.
So based on the spent and unspent casings found at the scene with the head stamp of 101 and 75, an SKS semi-automatic assault rifle had been used. So a sketch was released of the man that Alondra Hull had seen interacting with the couple on Sunday evening. He was described as a Caucasian male with darker skin, dark hair, maybe a beard or glasses. He was slightly shorter than Lucas, who stood at 6'3". So he may have been associated with an older model Jeep Cherokee with a black stripe across the hood and a black light bar with small covered lights. And it's believed that he was traveling southbound based on the positioning of his car. So on the evening of Wednesday, July 17th, Chynna Deese was home, and she's 3,000 miles away, even more, from her daughter. And she went to a yoga class, she fell asleep, and then she's awoken at around 11 p.m. to the sounds of aggressive knocking on her front door. And when she finally allowed the Charlotte Mecklenburg police officer inside, she recalls him handing her this card for an RCMP investigator as he coldly and bluntly blurts out, "Your daughter Chynna is deceased in Canada."
What the hell, man?
What is wrong with you?
Don't send that guy. He's not clearly capable.
This ain't the guy to deliver news that will forever change a person's life when their child is gone.
I get that people are different. To keep that guy behind a desk and then let the people that are good with people be with people.
How do you do that?
Jeepers.
So her daughter had traveled the world, sometimes by herself, oftentimes by herself. And she'd always been safe. This time, she'd been with Lucas. So Sheila couldn't comprehend what she was being told. How did this happen? So as her other children came to her home that night to grieve together, they knew that the worst thing had happened to the best person that they all knew. They were just shell-shocked. How do we live in a world without Chynna? So 4 days after Lucas and Chynna were found murdered, police are now receiving a call about a burning pickup truck at 7:19 a.m. on Friday, July 19th. So the truck in question was 60 kilometers or 37 miles south of Dease Lake in British Columbia along Highway 37. This is an area that's 470 kilometers or 292 miles southwest from where Chynna and Lucas had lost their lives. So when the first officer arrived at the scene about 30 minutes later, he found a still smoldering 1993 red and gray Dodge pickup truck, and it had a cab-over camper that was attached to it. It was sitting there parked, burning next to a bridge. And there was camping gear scattered all about the area that included a stove, propane tanks, a yellow nozzled gas can. So when police ran the truck's partially charred license plate, they learned that it was registered to a 19-year-old boy named Cam McLeod, and he lived in Port Alberni on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. So then now moving forward to about 45 minutes later, this other RCMP officer, Constable David Ribeiro, is getting ready to go dispatch somewhere at around 8:30 a.m. And all of a sudden, a road worker stops him and says, I just went by a dead body and it's at a gravel pullout area. So of course he drives over to this location. It's about 2.5 kilometers or 1.5 miles farther down the road from where this pickup truck had been found burning. So he responds to the scene, and Constable Ribeiro finds this man, and he's got a white beard. He's lying on his back, and his body was bloodied and burned. Despite the nearest McDonald's being over 8 hours away, there's this red cardboard box from French fries. There's French fries scattered between the victim's legs. And this is just like this odd point in this story that to this day, investigators can't explain how or why the food was there. I can tell you the victim did not get these French fries.
Weird.
So the man's clothing had been torn, and Ribeiro could see that there were multiple wounds to his body. Ammunition found at the scene was a match to what had been found at the crime scene where Lucas and Chynna had been murdered. Based on the fact that there was mud on the bottom of the victim's shoes, investigators believe that he was likely alive when he came to this pullout area. So there were 13 items lying around his body that included cigarette butts, a Molson beer can, a Red Bull can, and plastic zip ties. And because the man was carrying no ID, his identity was unknown. So after a composite sketch of the victim was released 3 days later on July 22nd, a Vancouver woman named Leonard Dyck contacted the RCMP later that evening and said, "This victim looks like my 64-year-old husband, Leonard Dyck." I mean, what a nightmare to see this sketch and be like, oh my gosh, that is my husband.
Yeah, that'd be sad.
So Len had spent 2 decades researching botany with a specific focus on seaweed. He had a PhD in botany, and he was a lecturer with the University of British Columbia. So as much as he was passionate about biology, he was equally as enamored with his family. According to fellow professors, he was a really special guy. He was truly irreplaceable. He had this knack at opening his students' eyes to the diversity of life. You know, he had such a zest and passion for what he was teaching about that he couldn't help but make it contagious to his students.
Yeah, that's the best when you have a teacher that's really into it, or even at a presentation when somebody truly believes what they're talking about, you can feel it.
Yeah, even if it's like, well, I'm not into that. It's like, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So although he did hold his cards close to his chest, he was just an absolute joy to be around. Len had left his home 3 days before his body was found on Tuesday, July 16th, and he headed out for a solo camping trip in his silver 2011 Toyota RAV4. He just wanted to go out and watch grizzly bears in the wilderness.
Wow.
And he planned to be home on July 24th because, of course, he's a lecturer at a university. It's summertime, so they're on break, and he's taking the opportunity to go out into the great outdoors and experiencing, you know, something like the awe of watching grizzly bears in their natural habitats.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And like some people need to kind of recharge by themselves.
100%.
I think I'm one of those people. Like going out camping on my own kind of sounds really interesting. I've thought about that, like just for a night, you know, just to kind of reset.
Be with your thoughts, all that good stuff. So Helen last heard from her husband via text on July 18th. This is 1 day before his body was found. She indicated that Len loved to explore new places, and although he did have a tent, it was often easier and maybe more comfortable to just sleep in his car on the side of the road, oftentimes along these pullouts. Because again, we're talking about remote areas. This isn't a place where cars are whizzing by. You know, it might be an hour before the next car goes by, if that. But police are realizing, though, his Toyota RAV4 is nowhere to be found. So according to the police report, Len had bled out at the scene as a result of injuries from an edged weapon, aka a knife, as well as a single gunshot wound. The husband and father of two had a dry wit, a curiosity about the natural world, and a passion for learning about bizarre and beautiful organisms that very few are lucky enough to see. And since now, of course, we're dealing with this pickup truck that's burning about 1.5 miles away, now investigators are wondering, 19-year-old Cam McLeod, his pickup truck is charred. Is he also a victim of homicide? So when an officer on Vancouver Island spoke with his parents just after midnight on July 20th, he was told that Cam and his best friend since elementary school, this is 18-year-old Briar Schmigelski, they had left their hometown of Port Alberni with plans of going to Whitehorse to look for work. So according to Briar's grandma, they had left on the spur of the moment on July 12th. This is 3 days before Lucas and Chynna's bodies were found. This was after Briar's romantic interests towards Cam's sister were rejected. And they had last texted with the pair on July 17th. This is 2 days before their pickup truck was found charred on the side of the road. So after the boys had recently graduated from high school, they were spending 5 weeks working at their first ever jobs at Walmart. And according to Al Schmigelski, this is Briar's father, the boys weren't thrilled with this position, so they hoped to find something more promising up north. So he described the boys as two good kids. They were just out on an adventure together. And Briar's great uncle said that his nephew was a truly kind and polite young man. So Cam's father, Keith McLeod, said that his son had always been a kind and considerate young man who cared about others. And a friend described Cam as a big gaming nerd. He was a happy person. He didn't have very many friends, but he was a really funny guy. And really, these well put together people are all saying like these were nice boys.
Yeah.
According to the McLeods, Cam and Briar were introverted loners and gamers. And officers were told that although they had hunted in the past, to their knowledge, they had not left with any guns, and no guns seemed to be missing from their family homes. So Al Schmigelski said that his son had struggled terribly after he and his wife had this nasty divorce in 2005. And this was a time when Briar's main influences in life suddenly became video games and YouTube. So he and Cam had considered themselves survivalists. They often would go out into the woods, play different games like War. And according to fellow gamers that Briar had met on Steam, he was generally very quiet and shy. He was fascinated with Nazi history, and he had sent him photos of his Nazi attire. So Cam's girlfriend indicated that he had left town without even saying goodbye to her. Like Briar's grandma had said, this was very spur of the moment.
Wait. So they're like playing War at this age now?
Well, when they were teenagers.
Okay. I'm like, that's kind of weird. I mean, everybody's got their thing, I guess.
Right. So Cam texted his girlfriend one day after he left, and he wrote, "Seriously sorry, but I'm not coming back."
So they're definitely, like you said, introverts. Like
yes.
that you wouldn't even tell your girlfriend you're leaving. That's interesting.
These are things we should talk about.
Yeah.
So when she got a hold of him the next night on July 14th, likely only hours before Chynna and Lucas were murdered, he refused to say where they were, and then he abruptly ended the phone call. So police were making attempts to track the teens because they don't know. Are they victims of homicide? Are they somehow involved in these 3 homicides? We don't know.
Gathering information.
Right. So they're trying to track them via debit and credit cards. And Cam's last purchase, though, was made on July 12th. It was at a sporting goods store near Nanaimo, British Columbia. And Briar last used his card at a gas station along the Alaska Highway on the morning of July 18th. He purchased $20 worth of gas. This is 1 day before Len's body was found, and their pickup truck was found charred on the side of the road. So attempts at tracking their cell phones were also unsuccessful since Briar's cell phone had been out of service since July 15th, while Cam's phone remained off since he sent his final text to Port Alberni on July 17th. So that's where it's like they're hitting a dead end right around July 18th. They're unable to track them. This is even before Len's body is found. So the RCMP were given a tip that 2 young men matching their descriptions had been seen purchasing gas at a co-op in Meadow Lake, Saskatchewan on July 21st. So if you're not familiar with Canada, British Columbia is all on the west side of the country. Saskatchewan is a couple provinces to the east. So they're driving a distance here because, again, Canada is so vast, like it takes, we're talking like, 40-hour drive or whatever. It's a lot of driving.
Yeah.
So they're now seen in Saskatchewan on July 21st, and they were said to be driving a silver Toyota RAV4 that matched the description of Len's car.
Okay.
So the picture is really starting to get much clearer here.
Because before they were like not possibly involved because they were found before Len's murder, but then it's like, okay, they were noticed with the Len's possibly Len's car.
Yeah. So on July 21st now, they're like, we saw these guys at a gas station in a silver RAV4. They're like, okay, so they're not victims of homicide. They're likely friggin' murderers. So this location was a 23-hour drive southeast of Deese Lake where Len had been murdered. So when investigators reviewed surveillance from the station early the next morning, they saw Cam. He's wearing a t-shirt with a cartoon image on it. Meanwhile, Breyer was wearing camouflage pattern jackets. And they confirmed they were driving what exactly looked to be Len's car. So by late afternoon the following day, this is July 22nd, police determined that Cam and Breyer were the prime suspects in the murders of Chynna Deese, Lucas Fowler, and Leonard Dyck.
Jeez.
So the RCMP officially issued a public release the next day on July 23rd, and they were confirming that these boys that were once considered missing and possibly endangered were officially suspects in 3 homicides.
These are like open hunting season, basically. You see them, shoot them on sight.
And that's the thing, like, people knew that these guys were out on the loose. They could be anywhere, and they were highly dangerous. They were killing people unprompted. So this was a scary time for a lot of people that were living up in this part of the country.
Yeah, and good thing there's a lot of hunters and a lot of people with rifles, so I'm sure everybody that had one had it ready to go just in case they came across these guys.
So the hunt for the teens spanned over 5 provinces and territories.
Teens, that's
18
crazy.
and 19-year-olds.
That's insane.
And it grew to involve hundreds of officers, volunteers, as well as the Royal Canadian Air Force. A total of 19 warrants were obtained for their arrests, including charges of second-degree murder for Len's death. They knew for sure they were responsible for Len's death because they're driving Len's car. They can only assume they also murdered Chynna and Lucas because the same bullets are used. It's very clear that they are responsible for all 3. But
crazy, they were like 300 miles apart.
Yeah, and they are listed as suspects in Chynna and Lucas's deaths. So when investigators searched Cam's charred pickup truck on July 23rd, they found multiple rounds of ammunition with the head stamp of 101 and 75, which matched the bullets that were used in all 3 murders. The SKS they purchased at Cabela's in Nanaimo had been used in both murders. So Breyer's father, because you have to imagine these families that are up in Port Alberni of these teenagers are being told, your sons have done this, and they are shell-shocked. They cannot understand how who they viewed as peaceful boys. Yeah, they're introverted loners. They're kind of nerds. They play video games all day. They were never seen in the eyes of their family as violent people.
You can't be completely shell-shocked. They
were shocked.
I refuse to believe that. There's nowhere in them that they're like, okay, I get
No,
that they're
I watched
weirdos.
several interviews of their family members.
Like legitimately they were surprised, or
Yes.
like were they trying to sell it?
No, they seemed completely legitimate.
Like there's a handful of teenagers I can think of that I've come across where I'd be like, okay, like, did I think they'd murder somebody? No, but am I completely surprised? I'd be like, nah, I don't know. You know, like I could see these types, right? Like,
yeah, they did not give off that at all. They seemed truly baffled and horrified.
I don't believe that.
So Breyer's father, Al, had always considered his son and Cam as nonviolent people who never got into trouble. Neither family could wrap their minds around what had prompted them to go on this murderous spree.
Like they've never like killed small animals or anything.
No.
Like I cannot believe that.
I mean, of course,
bullshit.
They're out in the woods for hours at a time. What they might be doing in there, their families don't know.
Like, are they just checked out of life as like parents? Like,
no, I mean, I saw an interview with the great uncle. Like, he was very well spoken. He was a put together guy.
Yeah, I mean, I know they come from a divorced family, but it's just like you didn't pick up anything. That's crazy.
So Al felt that if there was any hope of finding them alive, it was because they were hiding out in the woods. This is something that they were very accustomed to doing. And as time continued on, he said that his son was in a great deal of pain. He believed he was on a suicide mission and would likely die in a confrontation with police. That's how Al believed this was going to end.
Why did he say he was in a great deal of pain?
Probably because of, what he was going through after their divorce, and he was probably just turning into himself, spending a lot of time online, being alone and away from other people.
Saying, like, leaving his girlfriend without saying goodbye.
No, that was Cam.
Cam, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know, there's a lot of stinking going on here.
So investigators determined that 2 firearms had been used to kill Chynna and Lucas, while 1 had been used to kill Len. This tells me that both Briar and Cam were responsible for killing Chynna and Lucas because 2 weapons were used, and likely one of them killed Len. So after leaving their home in Port Alberni on July 12th, they stopped off at Cabela's in Nanaimo, and this is where they bought a Soviet SKS carbine, a semi-automatic rifle, as well as 2 magazines and 20 rounds of 7.62 millimeter ammunition. So this is the day they're leaving, which tells me that when they set out to, quote unquote, look for jobs up in Whitehorse, it wasn't the case, because why are they stopping immediately to get a gun?
Yeah, this is part of the plan.
And because Cam had his firearms license, these items had been purchased legally. The other gun was an older style SKS that consisted of scavenged parts from at least 5 Chinese-made guns that were believed to have been pieced together over the course of several years based on the weapon's numerous serial numbers. So after 3 days of driving, Cam and Briar made their way to the Alaska Highway on Monday, July 15th. And in the early morning hours, a pickup truck matching the description of what they were driving was seen on surveillance at the Liard Hot Springs Lodge at 1:50 a.m. This is not at all far from where Chynna and Lucas were killed, so this is putting them there. Now we know for sure they killed them. It was seen later, again, an hour and a half later at 3:25 a.m. at the Watson Lake gas station, about 93 miles away. And 4 hours later, Chynna and Lucas's bodies were found near the hot springs.
All right. Now, if you're like Canadian police, you're like, basically, you can't do this, but it's just like, like I said, open season on these guys. You find them, shoot them dead because they're looking to kill somebody.
I mean, no doubt, but
you can't do that.
You have to follow protocol.
I totally get it.
So by 4 p.m. that Monday, this is the day that Chynna and Lucas's bodies were found. They were seen purchasing a 20-liter gas can. The nozzle matched what was found at the scene 4 days later on Friday, July 19th, when their pickup truck was found burned about a mile and a half from Len's body. So this man named Ken Albertson, he actually gave investigators a clear picture of likely what went down at these scenes, how these killers had been choosing their victims. So this man lives in Palmer, Alaska. And on Wednesday, July 17th, this is 2 days before Len's body was found and 2 days after Chynna and Lucas's bodies were found. He pulls off along a quiet stretch of the Alaska Highway in Haines Junction, Yukon. It's right around 11:40 p.m. He's getting tired and he wants to take a quick nap. And this location is about 800 kilometers or 500 miles from where Chynna and Lucas had been murdered. So clearly these guys they're covering a lot of ground.
Yeah.
So about 5 minutes after he stops and climbs into the back seat to take a quick nap, a truck with a camper on top drove past his car very slowly, and then it stopped about 50 yards in front of him. And since the sun had set only 20 minutes earlier, this was something we got to experience. We're standing on our balcony on our cruise in Alaska at like 11 p.m. It looks like it could be 6 p.m. It was crazy.
Yep.
So when you're picturing this, know that the sun had set at 11:20 p.m., which was only 20 minutes after Ken had climbed into the back seat.
Yeah.
And even after the sun sets, it's still very bright out. So he was able to clearly see what was happening. So he watches as the passenger side door opens and this man climbs out with a long gun. And as the truck drove off, the man started walking toward his car in what Ken described as a stalking behavior. He was slightly crouched, he was trying to be very quiet, and he had his gun held in a ready position. So as the man is reaching now the halfway point to his car, Ken sees headlights approaching from the opposite direction. They're coming towards him. And he could see this is the same pickup truck that just dropped this guy off, so he clearly looped around to come back. And as I got closer, the truck is slowing down, and Ken is realizing he's likely in an ambush situation. So wearing only his underwear, he leaps back into the driver's seat of his car and just speeds away. And as he passed the truck, the driver turned his head and raised his hand in an attempt to conceal his appearance. So now he's hearing about the victims in the days moving forward, and he realizes just how lucky he was to escape this situation alive.
100%. He was the next victim.
He was going to be the next victim. And had he been even 10 minutes earlier that he pulled over, that if he was someone that quickly fell asleep, no doubt Ken would no longer be alive to tell this story.
Wow.
So it was only 2 days later when Cam and Breyer murdered Len and stole his SUV on Friday, July 19th. And by 4:47 p.m. that day, they were now in Vanderhoof, British Columbia. They were purchasing electrical tape and a crowbar from a hardware store. CCTV footage outside in the parking lot could see that they were using this black tape and they were putting it along the hood of the car as well as on the back spare tire in an attempt to make Len's car look different. And they actually did a pretty good job. Like, it looked like legit racing stripes. So the following day, on July 22nd, the teens abandoned Len's car. They set it on fire near Gillam, Manitoba. This is a nearly 35-hour drive east from where they'd actually initially stolen the car. So, of course, we know now where they're moving because it's like picking up breadcrumbs along the way. They're finding little bits of surveillance, finding little pieces to know which way they're traveling. And over the course of 16 days, the RCMP searched over 11,000 square kilometers, which is equivalent to 6,800 square miles in northern Manitoba, because that's where the car was found burned. And they were logging more than 4,500 hours during the search that was done by air, boat, underwater, and through insect-infested spongy wet scrubland. Because starting on July 29th, they were starting to find several items that belonged to the teens. Like I said, it's like breadcrumbs. This started in the Sundance area of Manitoba. They were picking up hundreds of rounds of ammunition at various locations. So it was basically telling officers that they were gradually starting to discard their items. And based on more than 1,000 tips that had come through from the public, the teens had been utilizing remote isolated routes in order to avoid detection. And residents were warned that these guys were armed, they were dangerous, they did not care. If you see them, call the police. You do not approach them.
That's code for shoot them.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
So Cam's backpack was found on August 1st. It had a box of ammunition inside, as well as his wallet, his ID, and his clothing. They also eventually found Len's discarded toiletry bag. Again, detectives are believing that they're just gradually dropping weight as they're moving through the bush. So 6 days later, on August 7th, police found their deceased bodies in a heavily wooded area about 8 kilometers or 5 miles from where they had found Len's burned SUV. The guys had died by suicide by gunfire, and although their exact date and time of death couldn't be determined, forensic evidence indicated that they had been dead for a number of days before they were found on August 7th.
Thank God they're dead. So did they figure out who shot who? Just they shot themselves?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
So 2 SKS semi-automatic rifles were found, the murder weapons, with their bodies, and they also found a digital camera that actually belonged to Len. So the camera contained 6 videos and 3 still images, none of which were time-stamped. But they appeared to be recorded sometime between when they burned Len's car and when they died. In the first video, which was nearly a minute long, they confessed to the 3 murders, and they indicated that they planned to go to Hudson Bay and hijack a boat so that they could travel to Europe and Africa. So in the second video, which was also nearly a minute long, Breyer said that they had reached the Nelson River in Manitoba and they may have to kill themselves, and Cam agreed. They once again took credit for the 3 murders and they expressed zero remorse. It was just a matter of fact, this is what we did. So in the third video that lasted 32 seconds, Breyer said that he and Cam had shaved in preparation for their deaths. They planned to be dead within a week and they were planning on killing more people in the meantime. In the fourth video that lasted 19 seconds, they said that they planned to die by suicide. After a 6-second video that's believed to have been recorded unintentionally, they recorded one final 31-second video where they described their last will and testament, and they said that they wanted to be cremated. So in 2 of the 3,
who cares what you want?
We don't give a shit what you want.
Yeah.
In 2 of the 3 still images that were taken, Breyer posed with one of the semi-automatic rifles, and then Cam took a selfie. Investigators determined that both teens died in a suicide pact where Cam shot Breyer before he turned the gun on himself. Although Cam's damaged SIM card was found near the banks of the Nelson River, their cell phones were never located. Investigators don't believe that there was a ringleader between the 2. They described them as just a simple partnership. They left no statement about their possible motive, and no evidence was collected that suggested that they had been planning this triple murder, like, for a long time. There was no writings, like a manifesto type of deal, nothing like that whatsoever. So neither had a criminal record, and what was described as maybe their previous limited police interactions, nothing remarkable had happened. I don't know, maybe it was like a speeding ticket or something. So according to BC RCMP Assistant Commissioner Kevin Hackett, the 3 murders appeared to be random. They were really just crimes of opportunity, kind of like Ken, who had just pulled over along the Alaska highway to take a nap. They just so happened to pass his car. He theorized that they'd come upon Chynna and Lucas's van because, of course, we know that that van was stalled on the side of the road. So that person that Alondra Hull saw talking had nothing to do with this.
The bearded guy?
Yeah, nothing to do at all. Why he looked frustrated, I'm not sure, but he was an outlier. Yeah. So they were just targeted for unknown reasons, but really the reason was just sick thrill of taking lives. Like that's all this was.
Trying to play a war video game in real life.
And yes, they did steal things from Len. We know they stole his car because they themselves were having car trouble with the truck. But in Chynna and Lucas's case, nothing. They just killed them, just for the thrill of kill. So from here, they drove north to the Yukon, but then they had to return south to BC after they dealt with car trouble. And it's likely they encountered Len. He may have been sleeping at the gravel pullout in his SUV because that's what his wife said he tended to do. And then he was killed near Dease Lake, British Columbia. They stole his SUV, his money. We know they stole his camera because they found it with their bodies. But no one will ever be able to understand what led 2 seemingly introverted but otherwise typical teen boys to go off on a random murderous spree. Chynna Deese and Lucas Fowler, they hadn't known Len Dyck, but they had all been out doing the same thing, just enjoying the beauty and the wonder of the Canadian wilderness, when their lives were taken for no reason whatsoever. There are times when Chynna's friends forget that she's gone, and they trick themselves into thinking that she's just off on another trip. Sheila Deese keeps the last handwritten note that her daughter wrote on her whiteboard that she keeps on her refrigerator that reads, "You are so beautiful, I love you." Her sister wrote on Facebook, sorry. Anytime I think of these people just gone from the lives of people who love them, it's just so hard to think about.
I mean, you think of all the people that are so close to you, whether it's family or friends or whatever it is. And even when you've lost somebody like your mom recently, like I always think that she's still around, you know?
You forget, you want to, when something happens significant in your life, Your natural instinct is to reach for that phone to send that text message. And you're like, oh, holy shit, they're gone.
Yeah. Or like for Chynna, you're like, oh, I wonder where oh no, she's not anywhere.
Right. Yeah. And it's one thing for you to lose a loved one because they were ill or whatever, but to know that they were just shot on the side of the road for no good reason whatsoever is just unfathomable to me.
And you're always like, why our kids? Like, why were they picked? Like, why did fate
never
pick
understand
our kids?
it, you know?
Like, it was just a completely random occurrence.
Yep.
And anything could have changed at any time. It's just
it's heartbreaking. Yeah. So her sister wrote on Facebook, instead of watching you enjoy your thriving life, I can only carry your legacy in mine and encourage others to do the same. And that, it's like, that's what Chynna was doing, what she loved most. She was out traveling. She was out living her life. And like Lucas's dad had said, they were milking every last bit they could out of life.
And it really sucks because they were doing something they loved. And now stories like these are going to make some people less likely to go have an adventure.
So Chynna Deese, Lucas Fowler, and Leonard Dyck were all cherished by their family members, and they will be forever missed. Meanwhile, Cam McLeod and Briar Schmigelski's families are left devastated by their son's actions, what they did to 3 innocent people, and the ripple effect of their actions. The amount of people that are grieving the loss of these 3 victims. I mean, how do you handle that your kid did this?
You can't. And I know I was hard on them, but I mean, obviously they're doing the right things, or they're sad and can't believe it.
They're devastated, and they just can't identify their actions with the boys that they knew. They're like, these 2 things don't exist together.
You knew they were like dorks and weirdos, but they had not capable
never
of
violence.
Yeah.
Never. So Chynna and Lucas had been a young couple who were madly in love, and they had been exploring and enjoying their time together. Len was a husband, a father, a lecturer. He had built a life around curiosity, knowledge, and family. Had said he had just gone out to innocently watch grizzly bears. He just wanted to take a little time to himself.
Like, how crazy that'd be. Imagine, like, I'm just going to go and capture some grizzly bears.
Yeah, he just wanted to take photos of them. That's all he wanted.
Yeah.
It's like, what more innocence is that? And all 3 had tragically crossed paths incidentally with 2 killers, teens who were cold, they were remorseless. They ended these 3 precious lives in a moment of brutality without a second thought. And that is the sad and tragic stories of the murders of Chynna Deese, Lucas Fowler, and Leonard Dyck.
So sad. I'm so sorry to all the friends and family of Chynna and Lucas and Leonard, and just incredibly horrible story.
Just all the stories. You hear about a fellow lecturer that used to work with Len, and he's like, the fact that I'll never hear his laugh again is just... It's just so sad. It's unfathomable to think that this person's just no longer existing in this world.
Kind of all extraordinary stories of each of them. I know we always romanticize victims that are no longer with us, but really, like Chynna and Lucas, adventurers that were deeply and madly in love, and clearly, like, when you hear about people's stories, it's like, yeah, they did like each other. It sounds like they did like each other.
And it was like so cute because it wasn't like they were like all over each other. Like, even in the footage at the gas station, like, he wasn't grabbing her ass or anything like that. It was just like this tender hug that was like, wow,
you love each other.
You really love each other.
It's so freaking awesome to see people that love each other. It's just so nice to see, because it's not often.
It is. It's rare to see that kind of true love where it's like, wow, what a couple. They're awesome together.
Then Leonard Dyck, a botanist. Like, who in the hell is a botanist?
I know. What did I say? He studied seaweed, especially.
I don't even know what botany is. Is that like plants?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So see, that's who I am. I don't even know what botany is. It sounds like plants, and he sounds like a very smart guy, way smarter than I am.
And I love that he was just a curious guy, because I love curious people that are just open to exploring new things and new ideas. And it's like life never gets boring if you're curious.
Yeah, and all these stories deserve to be told. Don't let it scare you off from nature. All these people would not want you to be scared off by nature.
What I was going to say exactly. Yeah, they would want you to go out, and that's what Chynna's sister had said. Like, I need to go live my life through my sister because she can no longer do that.
Absolutely. Well,
but just heartbreakingly sad, just like every case we cover is. It's just whenever I think about them as people, because I never like to just think of how they die. I like to think about who they were and how people lived and what they were like. And so many of the times I'm researching, I'm like, man, I would have loved to have known these people. They sounded really awesome.
Oh, if you came across Chynna and Lucas, you'd have some great stories.
Totally.
And just, be real enthralled with what they're talking about. So many
and all the places they'd seen.
And same with Len. Like he had some interesting things going on too. So it's just thanks for telling their stories. And listeners, for you guys, if you could please support us, there's a great free way to support us. It's by going to Apple Podcasts and leaving a review with words. So like leave words like, great podcast for true crime podcast, a great podcasting couple, things of that nature. Easy for me to say. So that like AI picks up on these reviews. So if you have an Apple phone and an iPhone, go to Apple Podcasts. Even if you don't listen through Apple Podcasts, like listen to one of our episodes, put it on the background, and then put a 5-star and then some words, because AI picks up on those words. Like that's a new thing in the past 6 months.
I'm nodding at you as if I have any idea.
Like, yeah, sure do.
Yeah, that does happen. I'm like, I don't fucking know.
And afterwards, you're gonna be like, you talked too long about that review thing.
No, I wasn't gonna say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
You talked too long, Mike. You gotta cut it off a little bit.
Remember when we were in our 20s and we loved each other?
Remember when I didn't have a turkey neck? I just noticed that.
Oh my gosh!
This morning.
Mike was
here, go to YouTube right now. I'm gonna jiggle it for you on my here. If the video
Nobody
editor
wants to see that.
So, File, if you could put it on just me. Here, watch my neck right here. Ready?
Okay, so Mike has lost some weight and he's 47. But I told him, I'm like, Mike, that is why I use this rollerball serum on my neck morning and night.
And there's no way that works, by the way.
I promise you,
you're
it
beautiful
does.
and skinny. I was a big fatso. I was almost 280 pounds at one point. That was big and chunky. Like there was a lot of me. I see old pictures and it's just like I was busting out of my shirts. And like there's so much like just heft, like a lot of face, very round. Like I have a huge head already, but it was huge.
I think you're handsome.
But yeah, I don't really care how I look. Obviously, I'm balding and I probably have wrinkles and grays. But like this is the thing that's gotten me the most so far. This jiggly turkey neck.
I'm telling you that rollerball serum, I use Dermatology brand. It really does help because God forbid you have to get on a FaceTime call or whatever, and you have to look at that face. I don't know about you guys, but there are times when I get on FaceTime, I'm like, whoa, oh my gosh.
If anybody can help me, I don't want to have surgery, I'm not going to do that, but just like, I don't think
yes,
there's a way.
I'm telling you, use the effing serum.
I will.
If anyone wants to tell me, I've said to you 3 times.
If anybody has any ideas whatsoever.
Serum. Use the serum.
Please. I'm not, clearly the serum doesn't work. Anything that actually works, let me know.
I am so offended. So does my neck look terrible that you don't think the serum
you're
works?
skinny and beautiful. I am a big chub, right? So like, I think different things going on here, right? So it's just, I don't know. Please let me know because clearly I used the serum once. It's still there. So I don't understand.
Yes, he had enough balls to say when I use the serum, it's still there. I'm like, what do you think? It's like a miracle potion?
That was a joke. Okay. It was a joke.
I don't know.
Yeah.
May have had an element of truth to it.
But yeah, guys, if you could please just go to Apple, that helps tremendously. It helps the algorithms find us.
And I just have to say that we're just extremely grateful for you guys. We just thank you so much for being here with us.
Real quick, we have a lot of people that comment on our YouTubes every single week, and you are amazing folks for helping. Like, I can't believe that you're nice enough to want to try to help us.
People are so nice.
Yeah, you guys are
amazing.
So cool. We're just
our neighbors were asking, oh, you got some trolls. It's like, yeah, we don't pay any attention to that because obviously we know trolls just want to make other people miserable because they are themselves. You got to just brush that off. And we just celebrate the awesome people that we have as listeners. We just thank you. We hope you guys are being safe.
There's like 3 names, 4 or 5 names I can think of right now. I'm not going to name them because I know that, but like you guys are always supportive. So
they're
thank
awesome. But take care of yourselves, each other. Don't be afraid of going out and exploring the world. Obviously take your safety precautions, but go out and live life, see the world. We never know how much time that we have.
Yep.
And until next time, bye.